Welcome. Thank you for joining me at Inner Landscapes. Blessings to you all. I hope you've been well. This is a reading for all of my integral Virgo children out there, whether it's your own child that you're raising to go up and greet the world, or if it's your own inner child that you're nonetheless also raising. Either or is fine here. But this is a May 2023 intuitive astrological reading for all of my sun sign in Virgo in the second house placement children. So I have started using a new spread that seems to be going pretty well, and I think I may stick with this so far. So good. Let's see, anything else? It has been a while. May has, for the most part, kept me very busy and also very drained. So when I get, well, definitely when I get busy, but also when I get just very tired, very drained, I don't like to do readings in that state. So I am back at the point where I can do my best to run through several more readings. So, excuse me. Hopefully that takes us to where we need to be for May, and I get everyone taken care of, all the signs taken care of in this stint. I will do my best. Anyway, let's see what our Virgos need to know for their month of May 2023, or what's left of same. Could be what's already happened, could be what's coming up, or what is currently happening this month. So what would you like our Virgos, our sweet, integral Virgos to know about this month? What's going on with our Virgos? Okay. All right, here we go. All right, this first card's placement shows us who this Virgo is, if not in general overall who they are in this life. It's at least who they are energetically this month. And it is the King of Swords in reverse. Excuse me. Okay. They're waiting on a message. Excuse me. That hasn't arrived, is not coming. I see some messages in the past, some conversations, some talk in the past, but there's something very important, an important conversation that they're waiting on currently that hasn't happened. Looks like they expected that it would have happened already. So this is a very expectant energy that I'm getting. Something that's sitting and weighing very heavily on their mind. And it looks as if they themselves are weighing the possibility of starting the conversation, sending out a message themselves instead of waiting any longer. But I'm also seeing that they're not very, they're doubtful, they're not very hopeful. Looks like in regards to the conversation or the content of the conversation, they're not very optimistic about the outcome of this conversation when it does happen. Maybe sometimes they hold hope, and then other times they are hopeless in regards to this. But, excuse me, what I'm also seeing is that underneath, almost hidden underneath, they really, really, really are passionate about this and want it to work out. Whatever this topic of conversation is, they have a very strong passion for it and desire for it to work out. Okay. Then we have the Eight of Swords in reverse, which this position tells us about what motivates this young Virgo. Either overall in this lifetime or for this month of May, what motivates them. And it's because they want to initially I was going to say that they want to free themselves from some sort of situation or scenario, but I'm also picking up that they want to free another person that is also tied to this scenario, possibly. So it may be that they just want to untie the entire situation for themselves and for another, to get things unstuck for themselves and another is the best way I can explain it. So that there might be some growth. That is their motivation, to free all parties. So this Virgo child has a lot of attorney tendencies. So either this Virgo child is your inner child, you as an adult watching this, it's your inner child and you're perhaps an attorney, a lawyer, or this child stays in their head, to be honest, and I kind of almost want to say they live in their head, in their mental capabilities, to the possible neglect of their other areas, which are their emotional side, and health, their possibly their physical health, because if there are emotional neglects or detriments, that will eventually form itself into physical manifestations. So, and possibly even spiritual, the possible neglect, for nurturing their spiritual side as well. But it's just I'm just seeing that possibility here. Maybe not all of these Virgos are in this particular scenario, but either way. So the other option was that if this is for an actual Virgo child that we're getting insight on, then it wouldn't be surprising if this Virgo grew up to be an attorney or work in the legal field somehow. Because there's a lot of mental activity going on here, and advocacy also is what I'm seeing. Okay, so that's what drives this Virgo. That's what motivates them to help themselves and another out of a situation, a stuck situation or sticky situation. Next position talks about, it shows us where this child's, what I like to consider what their south node could be or maybe, which is, it has to do with either what they've experienced in a past life that they've learned from, gained usable tools from, skills from, and hopefully wisdom from, to use in this lifetime. It also could have been just when there were earlier situations that have happened earlier in this lifetime as well, but it usually points to a previous lifetime's experiences. So that's why I consider this their south node. It could be their actual south node placement in this lifetime, and that is the Page of Pentacles in reverse. Excuse me. Previously, they learned from situations where there were a lot of illusions. And I mean that by a lot of people either trying to hoodwink this Virgo, or situations where this Virgo was hoodwinked just by the situation themselves. Duped. And they learned a lot from that, and that may be part of the reason why in this lifetime they like to stay up in their head, stay ready, stay mentally active so they don't miss anything. Because in their previous incarnation, they felt that they came up short, because they fell prey to some illusions, some misguidance, and but what I want to say is what I am actually seeing and getting very strongly, and it may just be for a very select few of these Virgos, that the reason that they were even able to be duped previously and hoodwinked and surrounded with all of this illusion that they succumbed to, is because I just keep getting opioids, the possibility of opioids. So maybe they had some sort of run-in or even addiction with opioids. That actually, even though they thought they were on their game taking these, that actually really kept them off of their game, because they weren't in full possession or full control of their mind. The opioids were. No matter how these drugs made them feel, which to me I'm getting a sense that it helped them to feel in control and all of these other illusions, but they were not in control, especially of, or in possession of themselves, their own wit, their own mind. Oh, that's a lot to get off of this card. So essentially, they had a lot to learn from this experience, and they did realize in the end that they came up short. So that's quite a lesson to learn for anyone, and I know many of us have had to learn that lesson and are still learning that, going through that. But this Virgo now has, in this lifetime, having gone through that experience, they have the understanding and can use the wisdom, if they so choose, from that experience of the past or previous lifetime. In this lifetime, they can choose to pull out those tools and these skills that they acquired back then anytime that they need to in this lifetime. That's what the South Node is essentially about. All right. Then we have the next placement, shows us the karma that this Virgo child needs to work through in this lifetime due to previous choices, the consequence of previous choices and decisions. It's what they have to work through. And that is the Lovers. And I am seeing a huge obstacle So what this is showing me, karma-wise, energetic, clearing-wise, in order to balance out these energies in the universal bank account, to square away their accounts, relationships, not just significant other or couples relationships, but relationships in general. In this young one's life, I see some fairly large obstacles and temptations that again keep them up in their head. But that's part of what they need to clear and work through and work out. These challenges are what they need to, and the challenge of staying up in your head instead of working with all of your resources, your emotions, that's a tool. Your mind, of course, is a tool, but it doesn't work without the heart. Put it this way. The mind, well, let me start differently. The heart is what is essentially your soul, your guidance, your inner counsel, etc. It's the essence of who you are, the best of yourself, the highest of yourself, where God lives within you. And it's also what you came in with, and it's what you leave this world with. So whether you're here or not, whether you pass on from this world or not, your heart is your heart. It's going to be your constant, steady resource, reliable resource for who you are and your direction, etc. Your mind, God can dwell in our minds if we let him. If we decide to co-create with him, that's when God also not only dwells in our hearts, but also in our minds. And so we can leave this world and go beyond with God in our hearts and in our minds, but it isn't a prerequisite, because there's free will. In order to have what it would be considered the divine mind, a mind of God, that's a choice. And that's what this Lover's card represents. And that's why in tarot it's really called the choice. Initially it was called the choice. But so what I'm trying to iterate and illustrate is that this Virgo, part of the karma here in this lifetime is to work through temptation, work through things in this life and scenarios and situations, not only by being up in the head and calculating and assessing and analyzing situations and people and things, but to allow God to co-create with you in that area in the mind, but also to tie that to the infinite part of you, which is the heart. The heart is where the wisdom is. The mind, the brain, is where the intelligence is. The heart is meant to lead the mind, and they are meant to work in conjunction together. The heart has the direction and the wisdom and the guidance. The mind is to carry that, all of that out, the wisdom, the guidance, and the desires of the heart out. But if you're cut off from that, you can see the dilemma. And if you stay up in your head only and try to work things out through there without dealing with your heart, your emotions, etc., and your spiritual side, it presents quite a never-ending unhappy loop. Let's put it that way. And temptations, you just make decisions from all of the wrong areas because you're making decisions out of fear. When you connect to your heart and make decisions from there, or allow the decisions to flow through you from there, because it's your direct source and direct connection to God, then you're not making decisions and acting and moving out of fear. You're doing it out of God, out of love, unconditional love. So that's this Virgo's karma. And it's so interesting how I'm getting so very much off of almost every single card in this spread. These are very, very in-depth radiations I'm getting from these cards. So I could go on and on forever on that, but I'm going to leave that there. That's the karma that they need to work out. Then the next placement shows us what I like to call the North Node, because it shows us where we're heading in this lifetime, where we're being drawn to, almost magnetized towards, our goal, our aspirations, our North Star for this lifetime. And for this Virgo, it is the Queen of Cups. And it's tied so very much to the last card. I mentioned the Lover's card. Whereas once this karma and energetic energies are cleared out, karma-wise, and worked out, it will lead to a much closer working relationship and connection with their heart. It's almost like they're crowning their heart instead of solely crowning their mind. For instance, as the generalization of a lawyer is wont to do. They crown their mind, and that is their greatest asset, when this Virgo has to move a step beyond that and crown their heart and get the mind to fall under the guidance of the heart. So this placement, I actually see the North Node. This Virgoan may actually have a North Node in Cancer. Possibly. Could be in Scorpio, but I see more so Cancerian traits for this North Node. So that's what they're being drawn to, magnetized towards. Also, I'll say this, the way I like to look at that North Node placement, or that North Node sign, if you will, is that's what they're working toward, because that's, if there is another lifetime for this being, the next lifetime, this North Node will become their sun sign. So, for instance, if this Virgo's North Node in this lifetime, its goal, what it's drawn to is a North Node in Cancer, that's because Cancer will be their next sun sign in their next life. That's what they're going to live as. That's what their expression will be in their next life. If that makes sense. So next we have how you, as the viewer for this Virgoan's insight reading, can best help and support this Virgo in being the best of themselves and being who they are. How you can best support them is by the Eight of Pentacles, helping them do the hard work. And I don't mean in in the vein of workaholic, putting in that type of hard work. I mean putting in the due diligence for what was mentioned as far as their karma, putting in the work to know more of themselves, every aspect of themselves, build a a more well-rounded Virgo, putting in the work in that sense. Well-rounded in their mind, because they're already living there, they already have a good bead for the most part on their mind, except that they're missing there's too much control of their mind. And I think that's an over, it's an over adjustment that stems from their previous life where they may have been duped. So in this life, duped because they weren't in full control of their mind. They allowed it to be controlled by something else. So an over adjustment was done in this lifetime to where they take full control of their own mind, but without the best co-creator, without the best co-pilot. And because we as human beings are where we are, we only can see from our standpoint, from our viewpoint, our position, a fraction of all that is going on, all the little intricate happenings and energies that come into play in our world and make up scenarios in our world. Whereas if we co-pilot, co-create with the creator, who has the broadest view, not a much broader view, but the broadest view, has a bead on everything and all of those little intricate threads and how they fit together or how they best fit together. If we cut out that co-creation, co-pilot part, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. We're over adjusting and trying to take too much control. That's hurting us in the end. Whereas if we would give over trust to that which made us and trust that it sees where we want and need to go and is willing to co-pilot and our directing our free will towards trusting and working with this energy instead of cutting it out completely out of distrust or whatever it may be, wanting to completely control everything, which you can't because you only see a small portion. If we did that instead, that's the lesson right there, essentially. For anyone, which is all of us with free will, that's the lesson. That's how you can best support this Virgo to help them do the work of what I just mentioned. share control in the right place with the right one, with the right energy. That's the way I'm going to leave that one. And then overall, this next card's position tells us what this Virgo's truest, deepest need is, being who they are in this lifetime, what they truly need in this lifetime overall. And that is this Chariot in reverse. They need balance. Excuse me, that is their deepest need. Balance of, as I mentioned, heart and mind. Balance as far as control. Balance as far as the practical and the spiritual. Because they will go a lot further if they attain this balance. And I mean like a shooting star a lot further. If they weren't trying to, right now in this Virgo's life, or since we are speaking of a young Virgo, their life pattern right now is taking them along the course where what the energies that they'd be working with, unless they put in the work to change things, the energies they're working with going forward in their life into adulthood would be much success, but on the physical plane, where and they're getting that success by driving a chariot with maybe 3 regular wheels, round wheels, and 1 square wheel. They're getting some success for sure out of sheer will, control, all of that of the mind. But imagine how much further it could go if it took and rounded that square wheel, allowed the universe, God, their emotions, their heart to round that square wheel. Imagine how they could take off and win in every sector of their lives. That's what their deepest need is. All right. Very intriguing reading, my dears. And I hope this takes you far. I hope you gain really useful tools and insight from this. And enjoy the rest of your May. Until next time, blessings.